Good evening. Welcome to the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2022. My name is LD Robinson and I am your reader for today. Today is 26, day 26. We have been reading, and I'm on seriously borrowed time for today. It's just been a very busy day, but we are here. And so we're borrowing a little time from Central Time Zone. We're borrowing a little more from the Mountain Time Zone and a little more from the Pacific Time Zone. How about that? so, uh, before we get started with our reading for today, we want to let you know that we are here reading because we are giving voice to words written by Black people all around the world, and we want you to join us. We want you to uh, broaden your horizons in your library if there's broadening that is needed, and we want you to celebrate the words that are written by Black people all around the world. Seriously, one of the Black authors are um, some of the more unpublicized published authors, if you will. And so we want to give voice to words written by Black people, simply because what we write about is just as vast and diverse and interesting as other groups. And so that's what we're doing here at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. So today is day 26. It is erotica. And our selection for today happens to be a fan favorite of an author. It is book two in a series for her, and it is titled Admitted. It is Admitted by Francesca Penn. And so we are going to read a passage from book two, Admitted. You can see, very spicy cover. Um, and so let's start. Dex liked being back home in Houston and needed time to see where things went with Kayla. He had a few months to make the decision since the new program was still in negotiations. His reputation, looks, and new shark of an agent made it possible for him to forego the audition process. The show was his if he wanted it. After eating at the food lab, Izzy had requested that he cook for her. He'd taken her to Nick's house since they had a chef's kitchen. He'd made her seafood paella since it was one of his newly mastered dishes. They talked about his travels and how he picked up dishes along the way. Apparently, she'd filmed him and the network ate it up. If accepted, his new show would be based on traveling to different places through his meals. As it stood, he would not have to travel. He would basically do what he did for Izzy, talk about his experiences abroad while he prepared a local dish from that region. It was exciting and terrifying. What if he didn't have the charisma that kept people watching? Dex, Kayla asked, redirecting his attention to her. What do you do to relieve stress? Dex bit back a grin, bit back a grin. The first thing that popped into his head was not the answer she was seeking. Well, he answered as he waved his hand toward the kitchen. You're looking at one way. You cook, she said flatly. Something told him it's not a method or relaxation she would try. Is that why you made such an involved meal and dessert for dinner tonight? She questioned him, but her eyes grew bigger before he could respond. Or did I interrupt a date? Kayla's head swiveled around the space like a woman she somehow missed would magically appear. Dex's irritation level spiked. He swallowed it back down. They didn't need to fight right now. I cooked because I have a lot on my mind. I'm not a serial dater. Kayla nodded, accepting the explanation, then asked, what else do you do? Anything that raises my adrenaline and reminds me that the world is bigger than my issue. Rock climbing, skydiving, surfing, orgasming. He let the last word rest in the air. Kayla's cheeks turned pink and she took another sip of wine. Message received. Other times, he continued, I go the extra mellow route. Hot tub soaks massages, and yoga. You? Kayla pushed away from the table. Her body moved around the table, collecting empty dishes. Just relax, Kayla. I got it. Dex insisted to deaf ears. Kayla needed something to do. Dex decided to prepare dessert. He sliced a big piece of cake, moved it to a plate, added the raspberry glaze, and then added a dollop of homemade whipped cream for next to the slice for presentation. He took it and two spoons back to the table. Come have dessert. Kayla added the last dish to the dishwasher and dried her hands on a towel before joining him. This time she settled into the chair next to him instead of across the table. The soft rose scent of her hair distracted him for a moment. Now that she was calm, she was morphing back into the woman he desired, and not the lady he needed to console. He sliced through the cake with his fork, collecting a raspberry, the sauce, and both types of chocolate. Kayla leaned in and wrapped her lush lips around the offered fork. Her hum of satisfaction inflamed his hormones. Dex slipped a forkful into his mouth, his eyes never leaving hers. Hazel eyes dipped to his mouth. They heated with each twitch of his lips as he chewed. The air between them crackled, but Dex was trying to remain in the comforting phase. He removed himself from the table, opting to set up the next activity in the master bathroom. Dex removed his apron and hung it on the hook. He'd forgotten he was still wearing it. Kayla's appearance threw him off more than he thought. Finish up here. I'll come back for you in a few minutes, he said over his shoulder. The day prior, he had wandered aimlessly around the mall until he'd overheard two women talking about bath bombs. Dex had never heard of them or the store before, but apparently they were amazing to the bath taking population. Since he had nothing better to do, he walked into a place they just left called Lush and purchased every single one that looked and smelled interesting, along with a few other items. He planned to distribute them amongst his mom, Kalila, and his sister. He hadn't expected to find a distressed Kayla on his doorstep before he could. Dex rifled through the bags until he found one of the bombs he picked for Kayla. He'd asked the clerk for everything pink since she loved it so much. He wasn't sure if she knew what a bath bomb was or if she'd used one before. He hoped she would like it. He smiled at the name. It was so aptly titled Sex Bomb. Dex crossed to the clawfoot tub and turned on the tap. He watched as water filled the tub, adjusting the temperature until it was exactly the way he wanted it. He placed a towel, washcloth, and bath bomb on the bench near the tub. Satisfied, he went back to the kitchen to retrieve Kayla. He watched her dry the plate and put it back in the cabinet. Her slim shoulders were still tense and raised toward her ears, but she was in far better spirits than she was when she arrived. Her hot pink pleated skirt flowed softly over her curves as she moved. The hem stopped at her knee, exposing shapely calves and bare feet. She would have looked sexy if she wasn't so upset. Kayla had paired the skirt with a navy blue shirt that was tucked in to accent her slim waist. She kicked off her navy blue heels the moment she'd entered the house. It was a rule that parents had ingrained into their heads. He'd once heard Kayla's mom say, "Don't let the outside in." Dex shook his head. Nick was completely trained, and he'd found himself taking off his shoes more often. The right women were a force of their own. Kalila and their mom, Dakila, were open, warm, and jovial. Kayla was the most complex. Dex knew Kayla had a softer center than the hard shell she presented to everyone. He just needed to crack it. She was practically a cheerleader for Kalila, falling for Nick, but yet she'd pushed him away every chance she got. Dex believed her claim to be interested in black men was BS. He knew that that was what she thought she wanted, but their chemistry was hard to ignore. She had to have seen beyond his lack of color to get to the place that brought her to his door that night. Dex hated seeing her hurt, but he couldn't help the grin that tugged at his lips. She may be unwilling to give him the details, but she came to him. She needed emotional support, and she had sought it from him. It was a big deal and a shift in their relationship. Your bath is ready, Dex announced to her back. Kayla turned to look at him with a slightly puzzled expression. To his surprise, she shrugged and followed him without argument. Dex helped her undress while ignoring his attraction. He pushed aside the vision of her skirt and shirt falling to the floor, turned a blind eye to her skimpy matching underwear, deliberately ignored her mouth-wateringly naked body as she slid into the warm water. It was a difficult feat, but he successfully gotten her into the tub without pouncing. Dex silently praised himself for possessing a type of willpower he'd never had to test. Dex rolled up his sleeves, tucked his tie in his shirt, and kneeled behind her. His fingers worked to take down the top half of her hairstyle. Kayla sighed when he finished. "You're not joining me?" she asked softly. All his willpower nearly crumbled like a graham cracker crust. He swallowed a sigh. "No, sweetheart, this is about relaxing." He picked up the bath bomb. "Have you tried a bath bomb before?" She tilted her head back and squinted at him in confusion. "A what?" Good. He wasn't the only one left in the dark. He showed her the pink orb that was topped with a small layer of purple and adorned with a flower resting in his palm. "A bath bomb," he repeated. "They are supposed to be awesome." Kayla eyed it suspiciously. "It smells good." She inhaled the scent. Jasmine. "Let's see what it does." Dex suggested as he reached over her and let it roll out of his palm into the tub. Kayla jumped and started to giggle as the water in the ball began to fizz. "It's effervescent," she marveled. "Oh, look, it's turning the water pink, Dex." The excitement in her voice made the corners of his mouth tip up into a smile. He would happily buy her 100 of them just to make her happy. Dex put his fingers to work massaging her scalp as she lathered up with one of the soaps he'd purchased. Kayla hummed her contentment. "Better?" Dex asked as his fingers started to work on her neck and shoulder. "Much." Her purse shot through him. He tamped it down, opting to remain to remain a comforting presence. "This soap is amazing. Is it from the same place?" "Yes." Dex was mesmerized by the bubbles sliding over her slick skin. "Lush." Kayla tilted her head back to see him. "I thought they made makeup," she said thoughtfully. "Why do you have all of these things?" Dex explained his shopping trip and intentions for splitting up the products. "These two things were for me?" "Yes." Dex pointed at the pink glitter gift bag on the counter. "And the other items are in that gift bag," he informed her as he secured her hair at the top of her head. He gently pushed her forward. "Give me the soap. Let me wash your back." Dex rubbed the soap in a circular motion with his palms. Its silky surface yielded an amazing lather. His soapy hands glided over her back, massaging as he went. Kayla's low moan drove Dex to his feet quicker than he intended. He needed to put distance between them. That moan was so reminiscent of one of the moans he'd elicited from her previously while doing incredibly naughty things to her body that it instantly killed his good Samaritan. The good guy was gone. Only the horny one was left behind. Dex needed to regain his control. "Finish up here. I'll get you a robe," he suggested tightly during his retreat. Dex took a few deep breaths once he exited the bathroom. He stood in his closet for a moment before grabbing a robe off its hanger. After refocusing, he returned to find Kayla putting the detachable shower head back on its hook. She'd used it to rinse herself while draining the tub. The droplets of water glistened as gravity pulled them down her body. Dex turned away, placing the robe on the counter with far more precision than necessary. In his peripheral, he could see her dry one foot before stepping out of the tub, then repeating the other foot. She wrapped the towel around her body. "What's wrong, Dex?" He didn't miss the confusion in her voice. He turned to face her before answering. "Nothing. I'm just being gentlemanly." Kayla moved into his space, catching his eyes with hers. "Who told you to do that?" The heat in her gaze was unmistakable. "Kayla?" Dex warned as her towel-covered breast pressed against his linen shirt. "Don't you think I deserve a happy ending to my day?" The way she emphasized happy ending made him harder. Dex's last strain of resistance dissolved when Caleb placed a soft kiss on his neck. That has been our selection for today. Um, for day 26 Erotica, and it is from Admitted by Francesca Penn. And we hope you have enjoyed it. And Dex is a chef. Dex is the hero, and he's a chef, and he has quite a way of cooking up things. So if you're looking for some sizzle, well, fire, frankly, check out Admitted by Francesca Penn. And we will see you tomorrow, hopefully earlier than we have today. And tomorrow, we want to remind you that first, we remind you need to subscribe to Great Black Read Aloud Day. Follow us online at Black Read Aloud on social media. And we want to remind you what we are doing tomorrow. And tomorrow is day 27. We have been reading for 26 days. And so tomorrow, well, today, East Coast time, it is day 27. And our topic for tomorrow is raising children, which, if you do day 26, you may have the opportunity to raise children. So, sometimes I think of myself. So we will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And it is 2022, and we have just completed day 26, which is Erotica, with our selection from today, Admitted by Francesca Penn. And we will see you tomorrow. Yes, we will see you tomorrow for day 27, which is raising children. And so we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.